Today's program is brought to you by OTCStockShark.com. For the latest and greatest OTC and Pink Sheets information, sign up for your account at OTCStockShark.com. Thank you for tuning in to TBC Today. I'm Brandon Vincent.
And I'm Angelina Soriano. In today's U.S. news, organizers of the New York Puerto Rican Day Parade said they are ending a 30-year relationship with the makers of Captain Morgan rum, citing Diego's PLC's plans to move distillation of the drink from Puerto Rico. The decision to end the long-standing sponsorship agreement for the country's biggest Puerto Rican Day Parade is the latest turn in a controversy surrounding the British distiller's decision to move its distillery for the rum to St. Croix, part of the U.S. Virgin Islands. It follows Diego's accusation of rival Bacardi of leading a hidden campaign to drive Diego's Captain Morgan rum production out of the USVI. Diego has a deal with the USVI involving a new rum distillation facility on St. Croix where it will produce Captain Morgan rum for at least 30 years, starting from 2012 when its contract with Puerto Rican rum producer Distillería Sorales runs out. The parade organizers said they were ending the sponsorship in a joint statement with the National Puerto Rican Coalition. Diego, which was not immediately available for comment last week, has accused Bacardi of being behind public comments made by the NPRC. The statement released on Sunday cited an NPRC comment made in February that Diego would get $2.7 billion in U.S. taxpayer-funded subsidies for the move to St. Croix. The New York Puerto Rican Day Parade typically attracts more than 2 million participants, and its organizers said it is the largest Puerto Rican Day Parade in the United States and Puerto Rico itself. They said they hoped that the decision would put pressure on New York Senator Charles Schumer to make a stand against Diego's move. Now over to Brandon for more U.S. news.
Thanks again, Angie. In today's U.S. news, Tim Westergreen recently sat in a Las Vegas penthouse suite, a glass of red wine in one hand and a truffle-infused Kobe beef burger in the other, courtesy of the investment bankers who were throwing a party to court him. Jasmine Wong categorizes songs at Pandora's headquarters in Oakland, California. It was a surreal moment for Mr. Westergreen, who founded Pandora, the internet radio station. For most of its 10 years, it has been on the verge of death, struggling to find investors and battling record labels over royalties. Pandora's 48 million users tune in an average of 11.6 hours a month. That could increase as Pandora strikes deals with the makers of cars, televisions, and stereos that could one day make it as ubiquitous as AM/FM radio. At the end of 2009, Pandora reported its first profitable quarter and $50 million in annual revenue, mostly from ads and the rest from subscribers and payments from iTunes and Amazon.com when people buy music. Revenue will probably be $100 million this year. And Ralph Stackert said, a digital media analyst at William Blair, Pandora's success can be credited to old-fashioned perseverance, its ability to harness intense loyalty from users, and a willingness to shift directions from business to consumer, from subscription to free, from computer to mobile. Its library now has 700,000 songs, each categorized by an employee based on 400 musical attributes, like whether the voice is breathy like Charlotte Gainsborough or it's gravelly like Tom Waits. Listeners pick a song or musician they like, and Pandora serves up songs with similar qualities. Though Pandora's executives say it is focusing on growth, not a public offering, the company is taking steps to make it possible. Last month, it hired Chief Financial Officer Steve Cakebread, who had that job at Salesforce.com when it went public. It's all a long way from January 2000 when Mr. Westergreen founded the company. Trained as a jazz pianist, he spent a decade playing in rock bands before taking a job as a film composer. While analyzing the construction of music to figure out what film directors would like, he came up with the idea to create the music genome. This being 1999, he turned the idea into a web startup and raised $1.5 million from angel investors. It was originally called Savage Beast Technologies and sold music recommendation services to businesses like Best Buy. By the end of 2001, he had 50 employees and no money. Every 2 weeks, he held an all-hands meeting to beg people to work, unpaid, for another 2 weeks. That went on for 2 years. In March of 2004, he made his 348th pitch seeking backers. Larry Marcus, a venture capitalist at Walden Venture Capital and a musician, decided to lead with a $9 million investment. Mr. Westergreen took $2 million of it and called another all-hands meeting to pay everyone back. The next order of business, focus on the service and on customers instead of businesses, change the name, and replace Mr. Westergreen as chief executive with Joe Kennedy, who had experience building consumer products at Elone and Saturn. Pandora's listenership climbed, and in December of 2005 it sold its first ad. But in 2007, Pandora got news that threatened most of its revenue. A federal royalty board had raised the fee that online radio stations had to pay to record labels for each song. Overnight, our business was broke. We contemplated pulling the plug, said Mr. Westergreen. Instead, Pandora hired a lobbyist in Washington and recruited its listeners to write to their representatives. Yet in 2008, Pandora built an iPhone app that let people stream music almost immediately. 35,000 new users a day joined Pandora from their cell phones, doubling the number of daily signups. For Pandora and its listeners, it was a revelation. Internet radio was not just for the computer. People could listen on their phone, on the treadmill, or plug it into their car or in their living room speakers. In January, Pandora announced a deal with Ford to include Pandora in its voice-activated sync system, so drivers will be able to say, "Launch my Lady Gaga station," to play their personalized station based on the music of that performer. Consumer electronics companies like Samsung, Vizio, and Sonos are also integrating Pandora into their Blu-ray players, TVs, and music systems. Think about what made AM/FM radio so accessible, said Mr. Kennedy. You get into the car or buy a clock for your nightstand and push a button and the radio comes out. That's what we're hoping to match. And now to Angie with today's health news.
When you've got a serious leak, it's time for Leakender 2000. It fixes any leak fast, no matter what's leaking. Just spray it with Leakender 2000, and in minutes, the leak is sealed. Look, we'll cut this garden hose with a knife, then shut off the water and spray on Leakender 2000. Minutes later, the hose is as good as new. The cut is sealed. Leakender 2000 is a unique compound that fills and seals any crack or separation as it hardens. Why put up with gushing gutters, dripping drains, wet windowsills, and rain-soaked RVs? Leakender 2000 stops all those leaks, and it's yours for only $14.95. Call now and we'll double your order. We'll send you this giant-size can at no extra charge. Order now.
To order, have your credit card ready and call toll-free 1-800-936-0300 or send check or money order for $14.95 plus $5.95 shipping to the address on your screen. Call 1-800-936-0300.
Thank you, Brandon. In today's health news, it's no surprise that men and women think differently, but now a study says they get sick differently too. A study at a university in Switzerland found that men and women suffer different illnesses when traveling. The Swiss researchers discovered that women are more likely to suffer from stomach problems, colds, and adverse reactions to meds. Men, on the other hand, tend to get fevers for infections transmitted by mosquitoes and ticks. They were also more likely to be treated for mountain sickness and frostbite. The study analyzed records of 59,000 patients who visited 44 travel medicine clinics throughout the world between 1997 and 2007. 1/4 of the 29,000 women were treated for acute diarrhea in comparison to only 22% of men. Fevers occurred in 17% of men and only 11% of women. While researchers don't have an exact reason for the difference, they think men may be more attractive hosts to insects because of excess sweat. The findings may help travelers prepare for trips away from home. Female travelers should bring anti-diarrhea medicine, while men need to be more attentive when applying insect repellent. In fashion news, Burberry has become the premier brand to break through Fashion Week's fourth wall this season by staging the world's first ever global 3D fashion show. Burberry creative director Christopher Bailey's show took place Tuesday in London and was simultaneously aired in 5 major fashion capitals around the globe. A group of editors and fashion cognoscenti were invited to the exclusive screenings with the requirements that they don the same black rims millions of theater goers slipped on to watch any number of 3D films this past year. Soon after, a parade of digitally projected models in thigh-high crocodile boots and leather aviator jackets walked past, and rest assured they won't be last. On Thursday, news surfaced that Fendi was shooting its Paris presentation in 3D for potential use in its storefronts as well as for special events. But while all signs point to fashion going to the third dimension, just how long can such a novelty maintain a notoriously fickle industry? Like anything new in a world where movements are branded and capitalized on, faster than you can say next please, the push for 3D is likely to experience a shelf life shorter than its past comebacks in popular culture. There's strong potential that the next few seasons of fashion shows will feature newly famous fashion bloggers and editors toting 3D glasses in their designer bags alongside their iPad.